Am I the butthole for telling my boyfriend's coworker that we're not married? I've been with boyfriend for about 5 years. We live together. He does not want to get married, which I'm fine with now, but it was a point of contention early on in our relationship. Boyfriend was talking to coworker on Zoom when I brought him some coffee. Coworker said something like, "So this is the lovely wife I've heard so much about." I said something like, "Thanks, but we're not married." He said, "Oh, boyfriend always calls you his wife," and then introduced himself. I introduced myself, then ended the conversation and left as quickly I could while still being polite because both boyfriend and coworker were giving me a weird vibe. A little while later, boyfriend came out of the office and asked what was that? I didn't know what he meant, so I asked what was what. Boyfriend then said that there was absolutely no need for me to correct coworker and that it's better if people think I'm his wife. I said I'm not his wife, I'm his girlfriend, and he never told me that he told other people that I'm his wife. This somehow becomes an argument, with my side being that boyfriend never told me that his coworkers think we're married, and boyfriend's side being that I should have figured that being called his wife indicated that coworker thought I was his wife and I shouldn't have corrected him, and when I said I thought he'd just made an assumption, boyfriend said that wasn't the point was that there was no need to correct him, that it was rude, and that it make boyfriend look like a dickhead. He then said that the solution to this is that when he next has a video call with coworker, he wants me to come in again, strike up a conversation, and say that I was messing with him, and that boyfriend is actually husband and us not being married is an inside joke I thought coworker was in on. I then said that was the dumbest effing plan he'd ever come up with, and no effing way am I doing that, and he said I was being a butthole, that I got him into this, and now I have to bail him out. AITA? NTA, that is so shady and it feels like there is a lot more going on. If you're not married he doesn't get the perks and that includes calling you his wife. I wonder if he's lying to take advantage of this that shows that married men make more money than single ones. Edit, not endorsing that. Web link. Yeah. I'm also wondering about FMLA, promotions, looking good to upper management. Why not just get married then? Because right now there's no strings attached. He can act like he is a wife without any consequences of actually being married, like having to split finances when original poster decides she's finally done with him. Actually, the minute he started calling her his wife, they would become recognized by commonly law marriage laws in America, and she could legally divorce him. Many states have removed common law marriages. There's maybe 8 states that still have it. Not too many Americans would write butthole, so I'm guessing this isn't in the US anyway. In my country, they would be considered to be in a de facto partnership and would have the same legal rights, protections and responsibilities as if they were married. Butthole reads as British to me, and we don't have common law marriage here. Asshole can also be Australian and we definitely have common law marriage, it's called a de facto relationship. De facto relationships have almost all the same protections and rights as marriage. Oh, totally. As with any talk of the law, region can change a lot. They would become recognized by commonly law marriage laws, in America. Nope. This varies wildly between states and there's very few it still applies to. It's so annoying that people continue to invoke common law marriage in response to literally any situation involving an unmarried, heterosexual, cohabitating couple. Importantly, you don't just oopsie your way into any kind of partnership that is formally recognized by the state. In even those handful of states that do confer some rights to unmarried couples, it requires mutual consent by both parties to hold themselves out as a married couple and wouldn't apply here in any event. I highly doubt that international laws are any different in requiring the consent of both parties. Edit. Multiple people have replied to point out that some countries do have more lax standards than the individual American states. It looks like couples that cohabitate for a sufficient amount of time, Canada, and whose lives/finances are sufficiently entwined, Australia/New Zealand, can find themselves in a situation where their ex-partners may be entitled to a portion of their assets. I stand corrected. If common law marriage was as easy to find yourself in as Reddit sometimes suggests it is, I feel like /r/legal advice would see a lot of posts about help. I lived with the same roommate for 5 years and now they're divorcing me to take half of my stuff. Reddit link. Even in the States where that's a thing, I'm not sure how it would handle a situation where he says they're married and she says they're not. Personally, I think if she chooses to split over it, she should get to divorce him and get half his stuff. If he chooses to split, then he shouldn't get any of hers because he chose not to marry her. I'm sure the law doesn't actually work that way, but I can dream. And NTA. If your BF doesn't want to look like a liar to his coworkers, he should try not lying to his coworkers. If your BF doesn't want to look like a liar to his coworkers, he should try not lying to his coworkers. I mean, at the end of the day, this is really what it comes down to. Heads up, this isn't the only requirement for common law marriage in the few states that still recognize it. I don't believe, based on the info provided, it's gone that far. As someone who has gone from in a relationship, engaged, to married in the workplace, colleagues treat you differently based on how you assign your relationship. It may be similar for women, but I don't have that perspective. Commitments to your girlfriend are viewed differently than commitments to your wife by colleagues, and while in reality it shouldn't matter, sometimes it is just easier to say my wife instead of my girlfriend of 5 years who I'm living with and committed to but don't plan to marry. To acquaintances/colleagues who don't know your story and aren't particularly close to, it can be easier. Is certainly not the butthole by any stretch, and she's right to confront him about using a term he was committed to not using, since he never wanted to get married, but I can at least see where the boyfriend is coming from. I can see where the boyfriend is coming from too. Have a girlfriend, of 4 years, a 2-year-old and a newborn on the way. It's just so much easier to casually call her my wife in conversations. Without it, end up getting a million questions about why not, when will it happen, etc. etc. I don't ever really feel like getting into the whole well, she's technically married to someone else who left the country and it's been a pain in the ass to fix that story. One day I'll propose to her, one day she'll hopefully say yes. We're both open to the idea, there's just a dozen hurdles in the way. I'd rather sort those out first before adventuring down that way. But yeah, with Op's boyfriend being totally against marriage, he can't slide by using that card. This actually makes it that much easier for him to fix things with his coworker. He can just say, sorry, that was weird, but explaining long-term partner can be a bit of a hassle sometimes, so I tend to default to saying wife. Doubling down on the lie is super weird behavior here. Doubling down on the lie is super weird behavior here. I just see it as he got caught doing something crafty and he wants original poster to bail him out so he saves face at work. So you don't think this is abnormal? I think Op's boyfriend is in butthole. I think it's unfortunately common that people will double down on lies to save their hide. I think it's wrong to misassign a relationship with a loved one, particularly calling someone a wife when one is anti-marriage. But abnormal? Depends how you define it. Hell no, NTA. Why is he calling you his wife and he doesn't marry you? That seems kind of stupid. Having a wife is a leg up in a lot of professional contexts. It gives the impression you're dependable, settled, a family man more than if you were just casually dating around. Op's boyfriend wants the societal benefits of marriage among his co-workers without the commitment. P.S. Original poster: do not marry this schmuck. This is a real thing for men in the corporate world. The company I used to work for, a guy when he was hired had on a ring and would talk about his wife and kids and seemed like a real family man. The head honchos loved him. It wasn't until a few years at being with the company someone found out he'd made it all up to advance himself in the job because his bosses and leaders were all family-minded. I don't know how they found out, but he left not long after it spread around the company like wildfire. I don't necessarily think it would have been that big a deal if he hadn't spun all these elaborate stories about weekends with his wife and trips that he would take with his family when he took vacation time. He was in deep. It's weird we are saying he's in the wrong and not the fact that the job/boss, and society in general, does look at married people with a family different than single people. Like the game was rigged before he even started, so he found a way around it, but we are here circle jerking how much he sucks. He absolutely still sucks. 1. Original poster wants to get married. He could have put a ring on her, but he wants to get the societal benefits of getting married without any of the drawbacks. It's fine that he doesn't want to get married, but he can't have his cake and eat it too. 2. He told a large lie without filling her in, expected her to somehow know about it and play along, and then blamed her when he was exposed. Yeah, it'd be different if he was single and made up an imaginary wife. Or if his girlfriend isn't someone he had to talk out of getting married. It's such a slap in the face to lie about being to someone when the only reason you aren't married is because you don't want to be. I'd be effing pissed. Point number 2 all the way. Like, I can understand the business leg up that it could give, and if my long-term boyfriend mentioned that to me, and why, I'd likely go along with it. The fact that she's being expected to just know what the whole deal was and then to be blamed after for not reading his mind is just ridiculous. Well, that little bit of unreasonable discrimination he's subjected to as an unmarried man, that's only the slightest hint of what it's like to live in the world as a woman every single day. And it's the woman in his life that he's mistreating by misrepresenting their relationship, that came to us for input because he's doubling down on being crafty to her. We could start a new subreddit that says, is it me or society that's the butthole here? But Reddit doesn't usually take very kindly to pointing out societal injustices, in a general sense. And in some fields, they prefer not hire married women because the pregnancy risk. Oh, I think it's screwed up mentality that men think they are only good enough if they have a wife and kids in a corporate world. If this is the reason why original poster boyfriend did it, I'm not giving him a pass, but I understand it having seen it firsthand why men do it. But when he asked her to be involved in that lie is where I think he ran into odd territory. And I could be wrong, and original poster boyfriend had a completely different reason for doing what he did. My husband works in a health setting, and before we got married they used to give him the crafty graveyard shifts because he doesn't have a family/kids and his other colleagues do, and in his boss's mind that was reason enough to not make them take turns being on call. As the single in my group work, it happens to me all the time. I'm always on time, but my co-workers are late because they have to take the kids to school, or else, or you can do this or the other holiday because you don't have kids, etc. Holidays, don't get me started on that. He's worked the last 4 Christmases in a row. He put his foot down and told them he was only working a half day this year because he wanted to spend at least part of the day at home with me. My old company was very family-oriented, down to announcing the birth details of employees' kids down to the weight and size of the newborn. They also did a ton of events for families, without really compensating with anything for the rest of us. I asked for some more fairness, but they, HR, management, avoided the question entirely. Didn't help their image much that he lowest paid employees were also that much more likely to be childless and unmarried. I would find it absolutely insane that someone was able to keep up that level of lie, even if it was against a morally questionable standard. Like if you took 2 years off to find yourself and travel but told everyone that you took the time to take care of your dying father, I'd be flabbergasted. It's very real. My work life changed drastically when I knocked up my girlfriend and married her. It was weird. I got way more perks, raise conversations became super easy, and the boss with kids started talking to me more. It's weird because I was way more invested in work before all this. At least 2 hours of voluntary overtime a day because I had no other responsibilities. Now since the kid they put me on salary and I'm strict 10 to 6 and refuse to work a minute of overtime and nobody gives me crap. This is so wild of me to hear, because as a woman in pretty intense work environment, I feel the opposite. I'm nervous about when to have a baby because I'm afraid they'll be annoyed at me for starting a job then having to take leave. And I'm worried there is stigma against working moms because they can't work as much. I'm in academia now though, so maybe the corporate world will be better, I'm not sure. Or it's different for men and women? My company in general is super friendly to parents of any gender. I got 12 weeks of leave to use in at least 2-week chunks. I can use all at once. I used 8 and then took 2 weeks off twice later in the year, over the course of the low-hole first year. Birthing partner gets 16 weeks and can start the last month of pregnancy. Unfortunately, I've heard from women in our company that this is a godsend and they've never had another company treat them that way, and it's more in line with your experience that a married woman is treated worse because they get worried about possible pregnancies. Married men get perks because they are family men now. It's effed up. NTA. That would be the stupidest inside joke in history. If your boyfriend, I mean husband, is adamant in calling you his wife, why doesn't he propose laughing out loud considering your long history too? That would be the stupidest inside joke in history. Exactly what I said. I can't imagine getting on the thing with coworker and being like, yeah, I jokingly act like we're not married and acting like that's just a normal thing to do. She could do it, but do it in a robotic, terrified voice, or read it off index cards like she's making a hostage video. Hold up a copy of that day's newspaper, etc. That would serve him right. Edit. Thanks for the silver, kind stranger. Edit 2. Thank you for the hugs award also. I didn't think my petty sarcastic nature would translate into internet points. I like the way you think, lol. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.